Okay, so today we're going to be doing something slightly different. All you need to do is to watch the video and listen to any tasks that I ask you to do. You then pause when I ask you to, complete the task, and then come back to the video to carry on watching. So today we're going to be looking at what was the triangular trade route and why was it established. The first thing I would like you to do today is to see if you can come up with your own definition for the term slavery, and I would like you to try and use all of the words in this box to be able to come up with your definition. So pause, write your definition, and then resume watching once you have your definition written. Okay, so hopefully your definition looks something like the one on the screen here. It says slavery is a system where humans can be treated as property and can be owned, bought, and sold. If your definition is similar to that, then give it a tick. If not, then edit it to make it more similar. In addition, on most of the slides that we look through today, there will be opportunities for challenge. If you're someone who in school you normally do the challenge type tasks, you should also be having a go at doing the challenge tasks here. So today we are going to be looking at, first of all, what was the triangular trade route? What I would like you to do, please, is on a separate piece of paper or in your book if you have it, is to draw out this diagram. You need to take at least half a page, but you could use a whole page if you wanted to. It doesn't have to be a perfect map like the one on here. You could just write Europe, West Africa, and the Caribbean, and then draw the arrows between them. What's important is that you have this triangle because we're going to be adding to it. So pause there. Draw the outline of your triangular trade route, and then we will talk through it in a moment. So hopefully you have your outline of the triangular trade route. I'm going to talk you through it now, and I want you to add descriptions to your diagram. You could also add dual coding of pictures to be able to show what it is that you are talking about. So the triangular trade route starts off in Europe. And the reason for this is because there is a huge industrial boom as a result of the Industrial Revolution. Europe has more stuff, so more things like pots, pans, cloth, beads, guns, that it is able to mass produce. Now what this means is that they actually have a surplus, so that means more than what they need. Places like Africa don't have those things because they haven't had an industrial revolution. So the people in Europe realise actually that there is an opportunity for them to sell those things to people in Africa. So they take these manufactured goods, pots, pans, beads, guns, and they sell them to people in Africa. So pause there and add to your diagram what kinds of things are being traded between Europe and Africa. Okay, so now I would like you please to have a look at why there is the trade of manufactured goods for people. The Europeans realised that in the Caribbean they have a need of labour. So they've got all these things that they're harvesting in Europe, like sugar, cotton and tobacco that they need in Europe, and they are going to need someone to look after those things or to plough those things or to plant those things for them. And they see an opportunity in the market. So they use the existing slave system in Africa and they trade these manufactured goods for enslaved Africans, and they take them over to the Caribbean islands to work for them. So pause there and add what is happening in this section of the triangular trade. So the final part of the triangular trade route is the route between the Caribbean islands back to Europe. Now, like I said, in Europe, they've got this huge industrial boom and they're building things. They're also using a lot of disposable income on luxuries, things like sugar, rum, tobacco. Those things can't be grown in Europe, or if they can, it's very difficult and they're not as good a quality. Instead, they're grown in the Caribbean islands. Now, they've already brought over their enslaved Africans as free labour to do that, but they need to get all of those things back over to Europe. So that is what closes your trade triangle there. So pause and add to your diagram what is happening between the Caribbean islands and Europe. So we know what happened, and I've kind of talked about it a bit, but we need to think about why it happened. What you are going to do is you should have a sheet of different reasons for the slave trade. You are going to colour code those in different categories. Now, you can either colour code it on your computer, or you can print it off and colour it in. If you don't have a printer and you don't have access to be able to do something on Word, you can just create a table with each of these as a heading and copy out the different information into those categories. So I'm going to show you what we are going to be doing. If I've just got these here, so I've got these are my categories, and you have your reasons for the slave trade. It looks like this. So the first one says many of the native people of the Americas, and it is the Americas because we're talking about North and South America, had died of diseases brought by the Europeans or had been killed by them in battle over land. Now I need to decide, is that to do with the Industrial Revolution, conditions in America, or the situation in West Africa? I think that's to do with the conditions in America. So I'm going to colour code that, the corresponding colour that's here. Okay, so that's your example. You need to go through and do the rest of that for yourself, and then once you've done that, come back to this for me to be able to explain your next steps. Okay, so pause the video, do your colour coding, and then come back to this. Okay, so that's it for today. What you now have is different reasons why the slave trade happened in categories. So the Industrial Revolution was a cause of the slave trade. The conditions in America was a cause of the slave trade, and the situation in West Africa was a cause of the slave trade. What you can do is have a think about which one of those you think contributed most to the slave trade happening, or were they all reliant on one another? You could also think about, are there any links you could make between the different categories, and if so, what are they? Next lesson, we're going to be having a look at what the reasons for the slave trade were and how we can write that up in some extended writing. I'm going to take you through that. Good luck!